again, I'm glad for the opportunity, and I'm hoping that we will be able to work together then to have our producers and our schools reach an agreement, because my position here as Farm to Plate Project Director is exactly that. I'm Barb Depew, working here in the Topeka office with the Department of Education in our child nutrition programs. And we are working to encourage local foods throughout our programs, in meals, in snacks, in tastings, ag education, wherever it will fit. And so the producers of Kansas are very important to this opportunity. And so making it possible through education of what is needed to be able to have those products either brought to a school, a child care, or having them available where our schools or child cares can go and pick things up. So I do think that the communication is very important, kind of just taking us across the healthy plate, as we call it here in Kansas, in our meal programs, in the area primarily with fruits and vegetables, of course, in local produce. We do want to make sure that there is the communication then of where the farm is and what the product is, how the product is coming to them. So ideally, we would like for our staff to meet the producer at the farm where it's grown, so that they can go ahead and talk about growing conditions, how harvest happens, and food safety items that are taken care of. So we do have a farm food safety checklist that is available. It's not required, but this is great for talking points as far as discussion about, again, what practices are being done in those programs. And with this, then, that could be, again, done by a producer and brought to our staff at our programs, or it could be something that could actually be observed and done on the farm itself. So that is a place that, again, a starting point in discussion. Obviously, through harvest and how the harvest is being handled, then in those areas is important for discussion, but how it would be available to them, whether it is something that a producer might be able to go ahead and deliver to a school, the pack of the product, quantities available, how it would be possibly. I know that in some cases they might have a type of a container that they would be using to go ahead and bring to the school or the home, then the child care where it is going to be served at. Or in other cases, it might be something that might need to be picked up and then returned. So again, making sure the sanitation practices are followed. Each of our programs does have a food safety plan. There are standard operating procedures that they are trained in food safety areas. So they're going to be asking and wanting to know about the cleanliness of the product, the items of how again is going to be delivered in a safe manner or picked up through in a safe manner. So those are areas in the area of produce and things that they might be getting from a farm itself. So checking it, making sure again that it is of quality, and what would be the discussion possibly if it was something that was not of quality, how that would be handled then. And so the accepting of the product is something that they would have to again agree on in the condition that they would be receiving it. So I think that in the area of produce, and sometimes too in the other areas too, would be something that they basically could use that checklist for that. So in each of our programs, there is a contact person. We call them the authorized representative. So that would be it could be a superintendent, it could be a board official, it could be the food service director. So there is a contact list. We do have that available through Data Central with Kansas Department of Education. ksde.org, so that it's a good question, who's going to approach who first. And it works, different ways in different programs. So some of our smaller districts just come knock on the door. Some of the bigger districts, then possibly, then a phone call, a meeting, and they may. We encourage support of the administration at our programs. So I do think it's great if our nutrition staff have met with them, indicating that they know they are wanting to work on local products and having local items, and so that they are familiar with that. And so that would mean then if we have events or could create events, and I know there's a lot of training and education that is available across the state, but I feel like those are some of the places it's great to meet. And we do encourage our program staff to go to farmers markets. So if we have producers at farmers markets, to meet them where they are, so that they're basically it could work, however it would be best for them. Some of our nutrition staff already do have good relationships and are working with our producers, and it could be through a connection. Many of our local beef producers that we have out there that are using local products in our meal programs could be through a school board member. It's just a conversation that begins, and then it morphs into then a great relationship then, so that I do feel like that it could be just through the community connections that are out there too. Through farm and food councils, possibly, if they know of producers that are interested, or there are producers that are interested in working with our programs. And so that it often just starts with a conversation. But we do have, again, those resources out there if the producer would like to make contact, then if any of the districts, and we're more than happy to provide them that contact too. We in our department, and I know also with the Rural Center, are always trying to add to our list of producers too, so that if we get contacts that are asking for who's interested in working with schools, we would love to have more added to that list, and so that we can actually share with them. Most of the purchases with local products are considered a micro purchase, and meaning that it's in the state of Kansas, it's actually under $10,000 that they are making through the purchase. So rarely are any of our programs, again, purchasing a quantity that large. So what we're required then with our districts, our programs to be able to do is, of course, then provide then open and fair competition then between producers, so that if they are developing a relationship then with a producer, it is important that they do consider if there are other producers, rather than continuing with the same producer, if there's other producers available that are interested in also working with them. So we want to just make sure that they are, checking prices. There is geographic preference. So if it's in a bid situation, they can show geographic preference then to the local producer by the number of cents per pound, or however they're wanting to consider then the local product for their uses. It would be something that each, as they set that up, that they could, yes, definitely go ahead. And seasonality, is something too that, it's very important, as things, are in season, pricing, may be adjusted or that area too. So that all is stuff as they are doing their bids, which typically are starting to happen. This is March, so typically starting to happen this time of year then for the coming year. And so that we do encourage them. They each have a procurement plan in their programs, and that procurement plan is where they do set up how much they are bidding then on maybe a or a vendor contract that they would develop, or if it would be something that they would develop then with local producers. So there is a list of different producers and programs that they're working with. A good question. That is the vegetable subgroup. So from the produce people out there, on a weekly basis, there is minimum requirements that we have for each of those vegetable subgroups. So again, way back in the days, it was by color. So it was, a color, so many red vegetables every year, or every week, I'm sorry. So many red vegetables, or so many dark green vegetables. So that is still what we are required. So the leafy greens that are available out there, obviously, majority of them fit into the dark green subgroup. We also then have, as I mentioned too, the red orange, then the subgroup that we would have fit there. Also lots of the tomatoes fit, and other items that are out there. There's a starchy group, there's a bean group, and then there's an other. That's where the cucumbers, the green beans, not all beans fit into the bean subgroup, looking more at what would be more in the area of the protein sources. And so in their menus, they would have to plan those. Many of our programs use a fruit and vegetable bar to put that variety of those vegetable subgroups on the bar. And so they're meeting their daily, their weekly requirements then by offering then the choices to the kids that they can pick from. And so that, I think that's a great, I think that you make a great point, the education piece for what those vegetable subgroups are. We do have that, and I'll send that to you then as a resource that is out there, because just like the producers, the menu planners also need to know, well, what is a vegetable subgroup? And so that we'll work together with them. It's important that they know whatever produce they're providing, where that fits in that menu subgroup then too. So yeah, those kinds of questions are great questions. So as you get any of those, feel free to send them our way, and we'll be happy to either give them a resource or give them a what that means. So.